This is Sean Henson with sprint8 part 4. The date is 6/6/2014. The time is 8:18, and we're just going to cover the last two managers and then show you final gameplay of the Centipede. So we have the HUD manager. This is not a singleton due to the fact that when I made it, I didn't make it a singleton to begin with. So when it got near the time where last bit of bugs were piling up and finishing up everything, I just left it as is. That way I didn't destroy the working HUD and ensure that I had working quality game for my designers to send out. So this uses the flyweight demo. And so the flyweight demo uses the is used here and used throughout all of the HUD creation process. So, and then the leaderboard creation. So how I have the leaderboard not be drawn when it's no longer in tractor mode is I have an if statement in the draw, and if it's a tractor wave, then it'll no longer draw. If it's not a tractor wave, it'll stop drawing. If it is a tractor wave, it'll draw the HUD glyphs. Otherwise, it won't draw them at all. And the only other thing the HUD does that I would like to change in future projects is this function right here. Now I have this here, so that way, this is why I don't have it be a singleton, because I'm remaking the HUD every time. Because when I mark it for destroy, it ensures all the glyphs are cleaned out, all the lists are emptied, no memories lost, clean slate exit of the memory. And then I can recreate the HUD with the new information that's been updated. So it updates just fine. There's no like multiple HUDs stacked on top of each other. It's just one HUD that's just constantly being created, destroyed, created, destroyed. And if I really wanted to make this more effective, I would add a factory for that, but I don't know where I'd have to start with that. And so I'll just leave that as is. I know it could use some work, but right now I feel it's pretty efficient for what I have set up for it. And then the last manager I've yet to cover is the player controller. This is the big one. This handles the player, the scores, the sound, mushroom field, the HUD. This is in essence a game controller. I just have it called player controller because it handles also player switching, what players' live totals are. It handles, it's like the main central manager that handles most of the things because it tracks which player's alive, whether we're in two-player mode, the number of lives each player has, the current wave of the players, their mushroom count in their field for the flea spawn. So the flea interacts with the player controller asking, hey, what's the player count for the current player? And it also spawns the AI ship, the wave, the HUD, and the new mushroom. That way it has pointers to it, so it can call each individual item whenever it wants. Because this is a singleton, so it needs to have pointers to it to all those other managers, since those are not singletons, due to the fact that they need to be created and they have to handle like specific information based on which mushroom field it is. Well, it would need that information because currently I don't have mushroom fields being tracked between players. That's one of the big bugs that I didn't get finished in this project. So right now it's just one single mushroom field that's shared throughout all the modes, and it's reloaded when it goes back to tractor mode. So it allows two-player mode. It doesn't give each player their own individual mushroom, but it is a working product that we can send out to the public, and they'd be just fine with that, I'm assuming. The player controller changes the mode. It asks the player, so when change mode is called, it asks, so am I in player 2 mode? If I am, okay, so player 1's going to start with 2 lives, and then player 2 is going to start with 3 because player 2 always goes second. Otherwise, player 1 starts with 3 lives and then spawns. Clear wave, when the player dies, clear wave is called through the ship or the AI ship, and it eliminates the entire field for the player and reloads the wave, which the wave manager calls, and also calls the heal field, which the mushroom calls. and all those are handled in the factories because my factories made a. Here, I'll just show that real quick in my factory. Let's just go to my. I think my spider factory shows this the best. So let's go to factories and go to my spider factory. So when the spider factory is made, it makes a stack called live items. So when mushroom is made, it pushes that into live items, even when it uses the recycled version. And when I call destroy scorpion, it goes through that list until it's empty. Just tells that individual item to destroy it, and then pops it from the list. So it just goes through everything and destroys it all real quick. So that also works for the Centipede segments as well. Switch player, it switches the player. You know, if it's in 2-player mode, it'll switch the player. If it's not, it'll just say make player 1 live go down and then spawn them. This also handles through an if statement when to restart the game. Otherwise, it just spawns a new ship and fixes the HUD. Restart game resets all the global variables like the scores, whose score is on what, the waves. I don't know why that's commented out. That if needed. And so let's show you the final product right now. What I got. So we'll start with player 1 mode once this finishes building. It's going to take a little bit longer because Cam Studio is active right now. So the major things that did not get implemented was the write high score function. I got to a point where I had to decide, you know, I don't really need to write the high score. It's not really needed for this game. The game can play just fine without a high score writing. It still shows the high score in the tractor mode, and it can be edited. It's just I don't have when the player reaches a high score updating it. So sounds back on. Player 1 score is going up. Frame rate's pretty consistent. It's going down because of Cam Studio, of course. Otherwise, it'd be at 60. And then here comes my spider. You know, just for space of time, I'm just going to kill myself. And now I'm going to try and clear this wave to demonstrate the wave change. Now you see my centipede is not converting heads. That is another one of the major bugs that I did not get to, due to the fact that I ran out of time, and how I was going to have it work was because I do not have a okay, let's just do 2-player mode. Then I'll explain why my segments don't convert to head. So you can see player 1 score is going up. All my fleas are spawning because the player zone is kind of small and sparse in mushrooms. And I'll just have his score melted. Oops. Player 2 score went up, and I'll just kill off everyone. So there we go. So the reason why my centipede, does not convert heads, body segments to head, is because I do not have it as a list because of the queue. So what I thought about doing was creating a Centi collider that the centipede head would spawn and move in the opposite direction that he was previously moving, collide with the segment, and then delete that segment and convert it to a head. And that was working until you shot like the middle of the centipede, and then it would break due to some sort of error, and I couldn't figure out why. So I dropped the idea and decided to give my developers this finished product to work with. And that is my Centipede game. End of part 4 and end of sprint 8 recording.